Welcome everyone, this is Michael from the Marks Group Live, happy to be reviewing Getting Started with Zoho Docs. After this video is over, please feel free to email us at support@marksgrouplive.com for any questions on this topic or on anything else Zoho. Also, be sure to rate this class as well, helping out your fellow Zoho users and helping us improve our video library. In this lesson, I'm going to introduce Zoho Docs. If you're already using some of Zoho's tools, such as the CRM, the many other products inside Zoho's stable, you really ought to try out Zoho Docs because of the seamless integration with the other Zoho apps. In fact, if you're using or you're planning to use Zoho's mail merge functions or anything else that involves a text template in Zoho, you might already be using the Docs. I find that Zoho Docs are an excellent alternative to Google Docs. And unless you're using the most esoteric functions of Microsoft applications, it's absolutely a match for Office 365. In our lesson today, I'm going to be taking a first look into the three apps within the Zoho Productivity Suite. The Writer, which is used for text documents, Sheet or Sheets, which is used for spreadsheets, and Show, which is used for presentations. We will look at the main features, the main user interface issues, and do some very basic document creation in all three of these apps. We're going to start with Document. Let me switch to the right screen here, and let me go to that window. There we go. If you've worked with templates for emails in Zoho CRM, then you'll already have used Zoho Writer. There are two ways to create a Zoho Writer document. And we start at docs.zoho.com. You have the two buttons here, create and upload. We're going to work on the creation side of things right now. So from the Zoho Docs home screen, we can go to the create button and select document. Let's see if that went as it should have. There we go. This gives us a pretty Spartan looking opening screen. If I'm already in a Zoho Writer document, I can click on File to create a new blank document, or I can open an existing document from here, or use any one of those many options. So the File menu is very much like the File menu in almost any other application that you've used. Now, however, no matter how I've created my Writer document, I'll start by giving my document a name, and we do that up at the upper left corner. When I click in that field, it's highlighted and I can type in a name. So, first Zoho Writer document. Hit enter and we're done. Now, there are really three main things that you should know about Zoho Writer. First, as I mentioned before, the File menu has a lot of document control options in it, just like the File menu in any word processor or in most applications. So I can create new documents, I can import documents, I can open documents that I've already created, I can manage documents. That takes me back to the Google Docs home screen. Make a copy, save as template. Download as is really cool because this gives us a lot of options for downloading my Zoho Writer document in different formats. Note that the ODT, Open Documents Text Document, or the OD format is used in programs like LibreOffice or OpenOffice. The PDF version is also there, and you can also create a password-protected file. We can handle document versions. In different versions of Zoho documents, you will have different levels of document control. And in the more costly versions, you will have infinite. I think at the top tier of Zoho documents, for the largest amount of cost, which is I think just under $77 a year per user, you have unlimited versioning. Share and publish. There are different ways to publish these documents or share them with others. Set up your page description there and print. The second thing you should know about Zoho Writer is that the usual formatting stuff is not generally arranged in a row up across the top. You'll see that there's a lot of blank space there. We have just a few functions up on the upper left, which I'll take care of, look at in a few moments. We've got the compose view, the review view, and the distribute options. And then we have a few other Zoho icons or buttons that are common to all Zoho documents. Off on the left, this area here is where you'll actually find most of the formatting. What this does is this actually preserves most of your vertical space for the document that you're actually working on. Most of the work that we do is based on pieces of paper. Let me bring one up here. There we go. Pieces of paper that are vertical in orientation. So it makes sense to me actually to use Zoho Writer in such a manner as you have, let me switch to the correct tab there. Right. So on Zoho Writer, you save most of your vertical space for the document itself and use the left and right margins for formatting and for buttons and functions. So what you'll find is they're actually under here, under the 3 horizontal lines. When we click on that, we show or we can hide the formatting commands. So there are 6 main menus here. Format, which is where we are now. Insert, Page Setup, View, Tools, and Automate. I encourage you to walk through each of these just to see what's there. If you want to have a cleaner screen where you focus on the words and don't worry about the formatting or the other features, you can just put away all the menus and have a clean screen. Let's bring them back. Within each one of these menus, we have a lot of text formatting and layout options. Everything that you would expect to have in a word processor is here, and most of it is pretty easy to access. Now, Zoho does give you a lot of power, but sometimes that power is difficult to fit into just a few icons off in the left column here. Here's how Zoho handles this. In areas where they can fit all the functions, they'll just have icons. So you'll have the edit icons, the find functions, there's my style picker. But here, down in paragraph, if you've done any amount of typography, you'll know that paragraphs can have a staggering number of controls involved with them. There's a button that says More. And watch what happens when I click on that. I actually get an entire new area here that gives me, that's focused strictly on paragraph options. In a sense, it's a sub-menu. I can put that away by clicking on the X, like that. Let's bring it back by clicking on More there. I even have 2 different tabs here. So I've got the Layout tab, and I've also got the Design tab. So these are extended paragraph options. The point is that when you're dealing with a Zoho menu, if you're dealing with something that is complex, you may find yourself in one of these More areas, sort of a second layer or a second level of depth. To return to where you were before, either click on the X there or click on Format, and that brings you back to the top of the formatting menu. Now, the other way that you see extended options is when Zoho creates a new tab or a new menu off on the left side there. So let me show you how that works by going to Insert. I'll just insert a table there. I'll make it a 3x3 table. And now off on the left margin, you can see that I have a new menu item called Table. When I'm no longer working inside the table, that menu goes away off on the left side here. If I put the cursor into the table, it returns. There's my table menu. And there are, as with many other aspects of Zoho, for the depth here, it opens up a new tab in this menu area, and in fact you have 2 sub areas within this. So you've got the design section, which allows you to apply existing designs. And you got the layout options for the table as well. I find that this is very intuitive. It's different from Microsoft Office. It's actually more similar in some ways to the Apple Pages, Numbers, and Keynote applications. So let's see. As I said, anytime you get lost, if you're in a menu and you don't know, or if you're in a subsection and you really don't know what you need to be doing, click on the escape key to cancel, click on the cancel button, and click on format, and that will take you back to your main formatting area. One third thing of Zoho that to make note of is that if I'm in a block of text, if I hover the mouse over that block of text, or if I select part of that block of text, I'll get formatting options showing up here. So let me select that. Sometimes this is translucent, sometimes it is bold, and one of the things that you can do is you can pin this so that it doesn't go away. So even though I keep typing, that window, let's make sure, yeah, there it is. That window is still showing up for me. All right, let's do this. Let's make my screen just a little bit tighter here. That's better. And just one more level in. And how's that look? That looks better. All right. So, oh, and one more thing about Zoho Writer. If you have questions about it, send an email to us at support@marksgrouplive.com. All right, let's move on to Sheet, Zoho's spreadsheet application. I'm going to return to Zoho Docs. I'm going to go to Create. I'm going to go to Spreadsheet. In contrast to the Writer application, this is laid out much more conventionally with a row of buttons across the top of the screen. This is very much a standard spreadsheet. If you're comfortable with Google spreadsheets or pretty much any spreadsheet at all, you'll be entirely at home here. Let's do some quick calculations in here. I'm going to say Alice, Bob, Carl. I'm going to say January, February, March, and April. So maybe these are timesheets for people that are working with me. And I'm going to put some random numbers into those cells. So equals rand between, say 20 and 60. Copy that down, copy that across. My point here is not to teach you how to use a spreadsheet, but rather that the things that you would expect to do with a spreadsheet, Zoho Spreadsheet actually lets you do rather well. So let's make the text here black. Actually, let's make a yellow text. Oopsie, let's make the background black. Let's make the text yellow. Make it bold. Oopsie, that's not it. Make it bold. There we go. And we can do the same thing there. And bold. All right. And now we can calculate some numbers for that data. Excuse me. Let's say equals sum. Oopsie, equals sum. And I can click and drag that. And then I can drag across like that. I can say average. I can say, look at the average hours worked. That's not B1. Of course, I don't have to click and drag. I can simply type B2 to B4. See, that wasn't in the right cell. My apologies. Equals average B2 to B4. And if I don't like the number of decimal places there, of course, I can change that. Where do I find that one? Format. There we go. Format cells. I'll say that this is a number, and I want to have no decimal places. So you're seeing, I hope, that all the things that we expect to do with any spreadsheet, we can do here as well. This was the total hours logged. This is average hours per worker. I can double click to make that exactly the right size. All the functions that you expect to have are in fact here. All right, just for fun, let's graph this. I'm going to grab that section of text. I'm going to click on the chart icon, and let's make this a stacked bar graph, I think. Sure, let's make this a stacked bar graph. And this would be useful for the manager of this group of workers, so that that person can see what the annual, or what the monthly expenditure was on salary for these people. So I can make this a stacked bar graph. I can change it up so that it actually shows us, actually those are not the right numbers. Let's say with rows. That's much better. Oh wait, there we go. Columns and first column. There we go. So this gives you the same data, in a sense, is pivoted, so that now we see that this is the amount that is the number of hours logged per employee for each particular month, but it's total by employee rather than per month. I can tweak that chart here under the general settings and under the customization. I have a lot of options here. So I can say hours worked by employee, and so on. Lots of power here. After I've created the graph, of course, I can move it. If I want to tweak it still further, I can click on the ellipsis in the top right corner, and I have a number of options here, including editing the graph itself, copying or pasting the style so that I have a consistent graph style throughout my document, which is incredibly useful and makes your work look so much more professional. And of course, I can clone the graph, I can delete it, and do these other items. I love the fact that I can save this as an image. It saves the image as a PNG file, which is really nice because it means that you won't get the compression artifacts that you might get with JPEG or GIF. All right, I've moved very quickly through the spreadsheet application, mostly because if you're already familiar with spreadsheets, you won't find an awful lot that's different or surprising or unfamiliar about Zoho's spreadsheets, the Zoho Sheet application. For most users, the only real question is, where do you find a specific feature rather than, can this program do a certain thing? Before I leave this Sheets program, let me go back to it. There we go. I'm going to give my spreadsheet a slightly better name by clicking on the top where it says Untitled Spreadsheet. I'm going to say a Zoho Sheet spreadsheet. Once again, under my File menu, I have the usual things. And so I have this is a very conventional spreadsheet application, which I think probably is a good thing. The only spreadsheet that I've known to deviate substantially from this model is Apple's Numbers program, which is actually very interesting because Numbers lets you put multiple tables on a single visual display instead of having each in its own worksheet, so you can't see multiple worksheets at the same time. Zoho Sheet isn't there, but if you're accustomed to Microsoft Excel or Google Spreadsheets, you will find very little that is dreadfully surprising. Finally, we have Zoho's presentation program. Let's go there, and you'll find this under, see, there we go, Create Presentation. Now, in all honesty and fairness, a few years ago, I was asked by an organization to write a guide for students on how to use PowerPoint. And this was supposed to be an 8-week course. And I mentioned to my brother that I was writing a guide for PowerPoint and that it was an 8-week course. And he said to me, yeah, what are you going to do for the other 7.5 weeks? Presentation software generally isn't dreadfully complicated. And in fact, the Zoho presentation software is absolutely straightforward in how it works. I'll focus on a few of the highlights here. I'm going to, when I create a new presentation, I can name my presentation, and it's always a good idea to start with this because the last thing you want is to have 15 files in the same folder called Untitled Presentation, Untitled Document, Untitled. You get the idea. So I'm going to give it a name. That's in the upper left corner here. My first demo presentation. I can select templates that are in a 16:9 letterbox format or a normal 4:3 format. They're just different styles for different presentations and different screens. If you're dealing with a 4:3 screen, you should probably want to make your presentation match that format, that geometry. So I can choose a color scheme for my presentation, and I can choose one of these templates. I can also choose, interestingly, a font scheme, which gives you both, shows you both the title font and the body text font. Is a really interesting feature. Right now, I'll just apply that, leave myself with a very plain looking slide. Now, major things to see here. We've got the file menu, which is, again, like all things Zoho, powerful, flexible, and very easy to understand. You've got a number of download options. There's the Open Document Presentation form. There's the Open Document Structure again. That allows you to be interoperable with things like LibreOffice or OpenOffice. You've got your PowerPoint equivalent, and you can also create it as a PowerPoint slideshow, or of course as a PDF. Other options here that definitely warrant attention. When we do a class dedicated to Zoho presentation, we will delve a little bit deeper into these. In the upper left corner here, this is where you have your basic slide control areas. We can add a slide. It will default to the last slide that I used. Actually, it'll default to a the typical slide. I can choose a different layout. And now when I create a new slide, it will be the new layout that I selected. A new one of the last thing I used. Undo, redo. There's your format painter. So if you set up formatting in one area and you want to apply it to another slide or to another block of text in the same slide, you can pick up the format and paint it onto a new object. Cut, copy, and paste options are there. In the middle, we have our 6 object controls. This is for adding things to a slide that aren't where you don't already have a placeholder. If you already have a placeholder, you can click inside it, just as you would with something like PowerPoint or Keynote. So you can add a text block, an image, a shape, a table, a chart, or media. On the right-hand side here, you've got 3 buttons. One is for play options, one runs the slideshow from the very beginning, and the last allows you to either play the slideshow from the beginning or show you the presenter view. I'm going to do one thing here. My first presentation within Zoho. You'll find that text blocks work as they do with PowerPoint rather than as they do in Keynote, which is to say if your text overflows the block, it will just exceed the boundaries rather than shrinking to fit the block that it's in. So let's see. I don't know if that worked. So as the usual presentation options are there. Off on the right, we have a contextual menu. Right now, because I've selected a slide, Zoho gives me slide formatting, slide level animation or transitions, and the review button as well. The review is really helpful when you're working in a team context. Of course, the Zoho apps, the Zoho productivity suite is a multi-user environment, so you can have multiple people working on a document, adding comments to it and adding content to it. If I'm within a text block, my format menu changes. If I'm in a slide, again, my format menu varies according to the object that I'm editing. Animation, of course, can be added. I have a large number of animation options here. And maybe the best way to put it is, maybe the best way to describe this is that I have enough animation objects to make my presentation really annoying by making things move around more than they should, or in ways that are disquieting to the eyes. Let's go back to that. So I have these options for animation. I can add emphasis to an object. I can have an exit animation, so entrance, emphasis, and exit animation, and I can even animate along a path, which is a very cool feature, but takes a great deal of time, and it's something that we could cover in an advanced class. Path animation is complicated. It is potentially high value, and I think the most important thing about path animation is to understand that if you're going to do it, it's going to add tremendously to the amount of time that it takes to create a really compelling slide or a presentation. You may discover, if you're starting to do slides with a large number of builds or animations, that you may need a tool that is more along the lines of a graphic compositing tool. Let's go here. All right, let me see where I am on my list of things to cover today. Right. I think that's almost it for the session. Let's go here. Let me pick up my notes. That is our introduction to Zoho Docs. We looked at the three main Docs app, the Writer, the Sheet, and the Show. We expect that we will have or already have in our library advanced classes for the Zoho Docs file system. There will be or already are specific lessons or tutorials on each of the three Zoho Docs apps, helping you to dig into some of the more complex features. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please check out our library on marksgrouplive.com for other training videos like this one. If you have suggestions for other classes or for questions that you may have about Zoho, please email us at support@marksgrouplive.com. And thanks for watching.